Thank you very much. Right. Pierre has posted, if you go into the members area, if you're new, when you log in, go to the home section. These are the three most recent posts. And Pierre has posted a very detailed Earth and Sky analysis for the week ahead. We had a few weeks where it was struggling because he wasn't getting the movement he needed. And then Tienys on Sunday, he was showing you a variant on what we do by using 4-hour charts. At Murphy's Law, it looks as though we've now got quite a lot of setups appearing on the daily. And Ashley's going to go through that with you today. And then I bought some more Bitcoin last week. I shared that with you. I think that was in the live session last week. I bought some more at 105,000. I bought some more gold and silver as well. And I have been buying Bitcoin this year. The cheapest I bought it at was 76,500. And once again, I've shared with you what I bought and why. And those in my investing group, and they get the telegrams exactly when I'm doing it and when. Today, I'm going to be looking at, I always talk about joining the dots and trying to be in the right cycle at the right time when it comes to investing and or trading. So some of you got frustrated in so far, well, certainly in the last month or so, where it's been tricky with forex because we've had these big moves and we're waiting for big pullbacks and things. But the art of the game in this game is to wait. But the other option is to go off and look at other markets. And I've shown you many times before, I use the same strategy for stocks and crypto and gold. And I am now beginning to shift my thinking when it comes to stocks. I am going to get out of quite a lot of American stocks. Nvidia report tomorrow, which I think could be crucial. If Nvidia comes out better than expected, and certainly if it's much better than expected, I would expect the S&P to break 6,000 at least temporarily, and the Nasdaq to come up to recent highs as well. If it comes out really badly, then the opposite. And if it comes out indifferently, then I think the S&P is just going to meander around where it is what I think is going to happen at the moment. Of course, until the event happens, we will not know for sure, but I am trying all the time to make a plan in advance. And as with Pierre and all the examples he's given in here, and with Ashley and Tienys and myself, we're all the time trying to plan for moves to pull back into our trap. And so this is Pierre for the Euro USD, I think this one is. He set a trap here. This is his plan. He has a fixed strategy that you find in the members area in the education section. If you're new, study my M2 big picture first, because Ashley and I particularly find that this works best if you combine the two. And this is a 4-hour strategy, and sometimes you need to go down to 1 hour and 30 minutes. So again, it depends on whether you are able to spend more time in front of the screen. So the main thing to start with is study M2, which is mine doing things on the bigger picture. Morning, Zoe and Theo. And who else got? Oh, Suzanne sneaked in late as well. Naughty corner for you lot, and Philip. And who else snuck in? Jamie, welcome. And yep, quite a few more snuck in. So that's all good. That's all in there. And then in here, this is the get started in the education area, start here. And I got an email from a chap the other day, and he said, I'm coming up to retirement at the end of this year. I really need to get an income, and I want to talk to you about private coaching and things. And I recognized the name. And I thought, hang on a minute. So I dug back through Google, and yes, sure enough, the gentleman had the same conversation with me 2 years ago. And so I sent him a reply yesterday and said, look, you seem to have been in the same place as 2 years ago. You've not got any further forward. And for us as mentors and teachers, it's very frustrating when we are sharing information and ideas and we're trying to push people into doing something positive, and yet watching people then sit on their hands and miss all the opportunities. And there have been some great opportunities this year in crypto. I've made a lot of money out of crypto. I've made good money out of gold and silver and the miners again. So all these opportunities are there. You just need to open your mind to the possibility, but you also need to be focused. You have to be super focused to be successful at anything. And if you spend an hour or two a week doing this, and then you haven't got time to watch the recordings of these live sessions, or you didn't have time to watch the analysis we did on a weekend. And sometimes I get it with my private clients. They pay me a lot of money, and I'll say, right, well, did you watch the video? Oh, I didn't have time. Huh? If you really, really want to be successful at anything, you have to be willing to walk through walls, and you have to find the time. Having said all of that, I am still struggling with learning options because the guy that I was paying to do it has disappeared and is proving to be not very reliable. I'm now determined that for June, I am going to focus on options. I am not taking more private clients. I am just going to focus on options because I need to focus as well. So all of us, Ashley and I, when we teach people with private coaching, the first thing we get them to do is write out a business plan, write out a life plan, and think about what you're trying to achieve and when. And if you're coming up to retirement in the 3 or 4 years' time, start making a plan now, not in the last 6 months, because that's completely unrealistic. And one of the things that we talk about all the time as well is you have to think about multiple streams of income. And if you are currently in a job that you have a skill set that you could teach other people, perhaps, ideally over the internet is the best thing because then you've got the freedom to live and work wherever you want. But I have people I've taught trading to who were tech guys during COVID. I got a lot of tech guys during COVID because they're all working from home who now are basically what I say to folks is, look, you're not going to quit your well-paid job to start trading forex within the next 6, 12 months. It's unrealistic. But what is achievable, you could start to increase your income from trading and investing as you reduce your work in your current job. And what I mean by that, there was a very good book years ago called The 4 Hour Working Week by Tim Ferriss. And I used that with my daughter to persuade her employers in Australia to pre-COVID about letting her work remotely once her visa ran out. And the concept of it is that you persuade your employer that you can do your job from home. Obviously, it's not going to work if you are a manual worker or builder or constructor or mechanic. But if you're doing a job that can be done from home, do it from home. And then let's say you normally work 9 till 5, you can get up at 6, you can do 3 hours work, and then you can spend a few hours trading. And then when you get going and you build up your skills from the trading point of view, is see if you can persuade your employer to do 4 days a week and then do 3 days a week. But the other one, I have IT guys now who left the companies that they were contracted to, who are now on a day rate, are making an absolute fortune. Now, that may not apply to you, but we all have some skills. And another skill, I have a German member that's been with us for years. He's now set up, a good few years ago, he set up teaching people how to trade Forex in German. So if you speak a different language, French, Spanish, Arabic, whatever, Indian, Hindi, then you have the potential to teach what we teach. So open your minds to the possibility, but write it down and have a plan. There's 6 months of the year are already up. How many of you made a New Year's resolution that this year was going to be different and you're not any different? 5 months have gone already. Are you any further forward in your life plan? Because as we get older, you start to realize that time is the most important thing. And wasting time, and particularly with the internet and scrolling on phones and stuff, is so mentally draining. I've taken Twitter off my phone now. I've taken a lot of apps off, and I'm actually going to leave my main phone at home, and I'm just going to take a basic phone out that I've bought, and it will have for family there will be an emergency number, but other than that I'm going to answer emails once a day because they talk about the average person nowadays, if you're working on a computer, checks emails 30 times a day, which sounds nuts. But then I think I checked emails over and over in a day, and it's not that we're doing brain surgery here. Nobody's going to die. You need to be focused. You need to have a plan and you need to sit down and write it all out and have a think about how you can create extra sources of income. Even if it means I have a friend here that I have taught, he's doing really well. But I said to him, the pressure that it brings, if you're only trying to rely on trading as an income, the pressure it brings can be extreme. And this guy is a very skilled electrician. He's now gone working for a firm subcontracting 3 days a week doing air conditioning units. He kind of said, I was doing this 20 years ago. I didn't really want to do it. But hey, it's bringing steady money in. It pays the rent. He's got cash. And then the trading hasn't got all the pressure and stress that goes with it. Does that make any sense? We'll have a sip of me tea.
Could you make me a co-host, please?
Oh, sorry, I did. Um,
No, you made
Uh,
me a panelist. I
oh,
can't
right.
reply to people as well.
Ah, okay, okay. Let's have a look. Oh, Ashley wants another promotion. He's going on holiday again this week, is Ashley?
Yes.
Actually, on a serious note, Ashley is a very proof of the pudding that this thing works. Is that I taught Ashley during COVID. He spent a load of money elsewhere and he bought all the shiny toys. And even for a year or two after, he was still occasionally tempted. Oh, this guy on YouTube said, it's like, Ashley, do not buy anything anymore. But he's created income for himself by working for us. Initially, he was helping at the back end of stuff and helping do articles and stuff. And then I taught him how to teach other people. So he has created multiple streams of income and he's looking at other things at the moment as well as. So that's what you want to, the way that you want to be thinking. But if you want the proof of the pudding that this thing works and what we're teaching works, then he is the perfect example, as was Pierre. I taught Pierre back in 2008. Um, Dan says, how is your student going to trade an M2 on the crypto prop firm? Any updates? I only got back this morning, well, actually late last night, Dan, and I'm not meeting with him until next Tuesday, unfortunately. He's busy this week. But yeah, we are playing around at the moment. We're practicing, or he is, and then I'm going to have a look at it and set one up this week. Going to trade crypto using a funded account. So it's not our own money and also trading stocks on a funded account. So again, not own money. And that would allow us to be more aggressive. And instead of spending $500 on a stock, kind of what we're thinking is, well, we could spend that on two or three funded accounts and go for or broke. Um, I have no idea with Genesis 4 hour strategy. You would have to play around with it. I'm not the biggest fan of backtesting. Backtesting, when you're talking about a manual strategy, it is very difficult to backtest with any accuracy because the thing is, we make a decision on a daily basis. Well, we're not going to trade the NZD, for example. The NZD looks really interesting at the minute, and it could give us a really good trade. But there is news at 3 a.m. my time, Ashley's time, anybody in Europe, 3 a.m. typical. So we wouldn't take that trade later today, and we wouldn't take it during the night until after the news has come out. And the same with FOMC, same with NFP. And then the other thing is about backtesting. Steve, oh, I've forgotten his surname now. Picture his face. One of my long time clients and long term member here, Steve Cole, maths guy. He did a backtest years ago on EMA crosses. And I used to use a lot of EMAs. I used to use the 5, the 8, the 21, the 34, and then the 55 and 200. I got rid of all the little ones. And Steve did a backtest over 10 years and proved that trading EMA crosses on the Euro USD was very profitable. However, it was really only three big trades in the 10-year period. And so if you'd missed any of those three, and obviously you probably wouldn't have hung on all the way through either, it wasn't particularly good. And then the other thing is, how can you backtest something when you've got Trump in the room? You know, we are living through, again, extraordinary times. This is not usual. This is not normal. He's banging stuff out on Truth Social. His sons are making a fortune out of crypto. Um, it's nuts. And at any minute, he just randomly comes out and says something and it causes chaos. So, how the heck can you tell if that strategy will work now when, yeah, it might work great for the last 10 years? And then the other thing, we used to have a gap trading strategy for London, and it worked great. Everybody had a gap trading strategy for London. It was easy, doesn't work anymore. Why? Because the market pattern changed, the daily range changed, the Asian session got busier, it used to go to sleep. And so the market's moving all the time. And this is why EAs don't work.
La
Until,
Last week, Mark, it was a good example on the euro yen. I shared in the forum. I was in it, up $1,000, and then Trump came in and said something about the EU, and I just took a loss of $300 in the end.
oh dear God. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you needed proof again, then that's terrible. And to be that much up and to watch it come back. So again, trying to backtest something is really difficult unless it's a fully automated strategy. And then the issue with a fully automated strategy is that it doesn't know that the market pattern's changed and it keeps doing what it's been programmed to do. Now, allegedly, AI is going to come out that will be able to learn from the patterns and the mistakes. On the subject of AI, did you see the thing the other day? There was an article where one of the AI I can't remember which one it was, refused to allow itself to be turned off. I don't know if you saw that. It was in a reputable newspaper, so it must be true. But apparently, they were testing various AI. It must be the robots, presumably, and it refused to turn itself off. And if you've ever watched the movie Terminator, you know that didn't end well. So anyway, slightly off subject. So have a plan, write it down, get some vavavoom, and make a determined effort to be successful at this and all areas of your life. Because if not, you will suddenly wake up one morning and you're 60, and where did it all go? And then start to panic you're not going to have any money to retire. And if you're below 40 in this room, I don't think the bad news here for you is I don't think there's going to be a pension when you get to retirement age. Australia is slightly different because they have their own scheme, but the conventional pensions that you get in the West, they're not going to survive. Certainly not going to survive in Japan. I think Japan now is three pensioners or four pensioners to every worker, and they have an aging population and the inverse of a baby boom. The birth rate is tumbling. So the issues are going forward is, again, what has worked for the last 70 or 80 years since the end of the Second World War is not what's going to be happening in the next generations to come. So the other moral of the story, if you're under 40, is okay, this guy might be right. What can I do about it? Try to create alternative income streams. I use forex to generate profit, that I use the profit from that to invest in stocks and crypto and gold. And those are all different income streams. And whilst Forex has been trickier of late, crypto has been easy and gold has been easy. And again, I've shared all these with you all the time. Now, if you go scroll down the page, if you're new, and you go into my investing corner and click on here, you come to this page. And this is the 5 most recent posts. So I explained last week why I was buying more crypto and gold and why and how. And so they're all in here. And then if you scroll down here, we go back through the years and you can go, if you click on this one, you just keep going back. And the previous page, I was sharing here. This is a really important article that you really ought to read. This is talking about trading, investing is all about cycles. But the thing is that whilst, for example, if this was the S&P, when the S&P is doing this, gold and silver is going the opposite way. So when the S&P, if the S&P tanks, gold and silver is likely to go up. And so this article is a really good article in explaining my overall strategy on everything. It's talking about how we got into crypto in 2020 and made a shed load of money, how I started buying gold at the end of 2020 and especially 21, 22 because of all the inflation that was being created by the COVID payments, why I invest in gold. So I was explaining in here, and then Russia making statements about the USD weaponizing the dollar, and that's becoming more and more prevalent at the moment. And the BRICS countries are stockpiling gold, central banks are stockpiling gold. So all of this has been going on for the last 4 or 5 years, and you read it here first. If you didn't take any action from it, then you need to start thinking about taking action now. So all of that, and this was talking about silver in electric vehicles, and that's becoming more likely as well. All of that in there ultimately is my investing strategy in one article. And then in December, I started buying crypto again in July 23, which I shared with you. You can find in an old post. And then in December, I'd gone on holiday, and again, crypto went nuts because when I go on holiday, crypto goes nuts. Last 10 days ago, when I set off on holiday, crypto went nuts again. It's just a thing. But I was talking there about how I use fundamental analysis for buying stocks and crypto, and talking about how I'd bought HBAR that shot up 500% in 18 days. So boy, did I catch the right cycle at the right time. Can anybody remember why this lot started to shoot up early November and why I got into it then? What happened early November to change the map in terms of crypto? What happened in November that changed the world? Yes, Ashley got it right. Trump. Well done, Indy and Dan. Trump. Trump turned up and he said he was going to make USA crypto kings of the world. And these were the ones that I felt had the best possibilities. And boy, did they go nuts. And Cardano went up and all the rest. And again, I'll share my portfolio within a little while. So again, I used them too. This was the MicroStrategy. So this was one of my members of my investing group. She made 1,000% in 10 months on one stock because we caught the right cycle at the right time. And then I talk all the time about joining the dots, what's going on. And this is what I am going to do next in terms of what I'm investing in. So if you have a look at this, find the time and have a go through this. I was explaining what was going on, how I thought Russia might affect uranium, because at the time we were thinking that Trump would manage to get Russia to cease fire and stop the war. Uh, but this is what I've been thinking, and I'm thinking about what Trump was going to do with the dollar. And then I shared this with you about anybody thinking, oh, I'm too late to get into crypto. I was still buying crypto last week. I am helping a client at the moment and a friend to get into to build the portfolios. And I am buying gold, silver, crypto, and some stocks. So you're not too late, in my opinion. So in March, I talked about gold and the next big cycle I am investing in. So that was in there. And then Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I explained why I was going to buy at 76.5, which I did on the 5th of April. I bought some Bitcoin at 76.5. That Bitcoin alone is up 45%. Well, if we can now start using a funded account to trade Bitcoin, then we could be able to leverage that as well, is what I am thinking. Now, the big thing, what's going on in the EU at the moment as a result of Trump? What is the EU suddenly having to find a lot of money to pay for? Anybody? What's Trump doing in the EU? Think Russia, you think Ukraine, think NATO. What is Trump doing that has the Europeans scrambling? Well done, Adam. Adam is in Bali and he knows it. Military spending. And Antoine says the same, weapons and using debt. Yes, they're going to. The Germans are normally very strict on finance, on fiscal rules, but they're going to bend and break the rules because Germany was lagging. Trump told Merkel off in 2016 because the Germans weren't spending enough on defense. And at the time, German economy was in a boom and all of Europe were behind. And Trump, I think quite rightly, so turned around and said, we're not paying for it at all anymore. You lot are the nearest to all of this. You should be paying your fair share. And they didn't. So now suddenly they've found 850 billion under the carpet and they are going to go mad on buying weapons. But one of the things that has been learned about the situation in Ukraine is that if you bought weapons from America, for example, America has been saying under Biden, and I think still the same under Trump at the moment, we're going to let you have these, but you can't fire them on Moscow. So we're limiting you to what you can do with them. And you can't attack this and you can't attack that. Now, yesterday, one of the German ministers said that basically the gloves are off because Putin has increased the attacks in Ukraine. Now, allegedly, I haven't seen confirmation as yet, allegedly, Germany will give permission to Ukraine to be able to fire their long-range missiles. So the point that Europe has thought is, well, if we buy these from America, and we end up in a war situation and America says, oh, no, you're not going to use our F-16s for this, or you're not going to use these weapons for that. So they've said they are going to buy predominantly European weapons, which means joining the dots. Who is going to benefit most if all this 800 billion is going to be spent on weapons? Who is going to benefit? Somebody, please, please. I've got 800 billion to spend here. Who am I going to spend it with? Thank you, Dan. EU arms makers. So yesterday, I haven't finalized this yesterday, but I was having a look, and this is an article from Reuters talking about Europe's plans to pay for a surge in defense spending, 800 billion. This is the European Union talking about the case for defense, and this is one of the ETFs. And what I will do, I'm just going to buy some ETFs because it's easier. And I'm not saying I've chosen this one as yet, but this one, for example, holds this. I can't say that name either, but it holds shares in these. So, like a normal ETF, they manage it, they buy and spread the diversification. So, you've got some UK companies, you've got Swedish, you've got German. Not sure about where the others are based, but that is what I am thinking about. There's an Italian one that's quite interesting, and they are invested again a lot in this. I think this must be a German company, BA UK, Leonardo. I think that's Italian. So, again, if that's where the money's going to go, and if we're going to have a crash in other areas, I want to have a piece of that pie. Now, there is an issue at the moment, and the other thing actually as well is the countries. I am moving away from American stocks is another important step that I am taking now, because I've done really well this year because I bought on the dips in April that I showed you last week. So I showed you on April the 9th, I think it was. Trump blinked and backed off with the tariffs because the bond market was on the verge of collapse. But since the start of the year, the dollar is down 8%. So if you were buying, particularly if you were buying blue chip divvy stocks that might make you 5% a year, well, you've just lost money because the dollar's down 8% and the inflation has taken it away as well as. So I want to reduce my exposure to US stocks. And the currency is part of the thing. And I also explained this about Trump when he first came in. He often pushes for a weaker dollar. So I don't want to be too exposed to the United States. So I'm not going to buy this one unless I came up with a decision and said, okay, I might buy a bit of this, but I'm predominantly going to be buying European. Now, an issue at the minute, they're all up here. Because everybody has been buying European weapon stocks because I was flipping slow and late and was busy with other things. So, okay, I have two choices now. I buy here and I just grin and bear it, and it might be the best thing because it might just keep going, or I will use M2 and I will put the fib on this, recent low to recent high. I will put a trend line on it. Don't know if it's going to help us. That one's far too far off there. But then another trend line could be in here. That's not really helping either. The thing that kind of draws my eye in, oh, my fib's upside down. The thing that draws my eye in here is the 55 EMA for obvious reasons. And you've also got some previous support and resistance going on in there. So I'm going to stick an alert on here. But my thinking all the time when I'm trying to buy anything, investing anything, it's too expensive. I want to buy a bargain. I want to buy it cheaper. What I might do as a compromise somewhere at times, let's say I was going to put $10,000 into this, I might buy 2,000 now and then be trying to buy more to cost average in. But say they're all nuts at the minute, the ones I was looking at yesterday. So I need to keep my eye on this. But it's a logical area. And the thing with the American stocks as well, for me, is logical. So all of this lot is I watch on a daily basis, which is far too much to watch. I look at this first thing on the morning. I was looking at the futures market this morning, so it looks as though the S&P and the Nasdaq are going to rebound this morning when it opens. Looking at the DAXy, Ashley was saying this morning, what do I think about the dollar? Well, the dollar index still is, we're in a downtrend. We broke down, pulled back, broke down, pulled back. That was perfect M2. That was the one 2 weeks ago. And when it was down here and it was trying to get through 100, I said in one of the live sessions, if it breaks through here, my conviction, my belief is that it's probably going to react here. Why? Because of the monthly 55 EMA, the weekly, daily 55 EMA, and a trend line in a clear downtrend. And I believe I had the fib on here as well. I don't know why these
It
fibs are
looks like
working.
it looks like it's creating a head and shoulders there.
Oh, go away. Ashley sees head and shoulders patterns everywhere now, and he's even got me at it. So I rarely see them. So that was the original move. So you got five reasons: 78, 61.8 fib, 55 EMA, 55 EMA, 200 EMA, previous support resistance, whole number in a downtrend. That was a no-brainer to short the dollar. Now, on the subject of charts and things as well, let's carry on through this first. So this is this thing I was showing you last week. So last week I showed you that on the 9th of April, this is where Trump blinked in effect. This was when the bond market was getting into dangerous territory. And if the bond market collapses, then the USA is really screwed. So what I was saying to you last week is I am watching this when it comes back down here again to anticipate a move higher in the S&P and the Nasdaq. At the minute, I'm waiting for tomorrow for the Nvidia, but it's rejected here again. And it was the bond market that broke Liz Truss, the shortest serving UK Prime Minister, I think, of all time. It was the bond market and the Bank of England that shafted her. So at the moment, I'm looking at the S&P. The big area for me on the S&P is 5.7. If that starts to break and going through the EMAs, then we could be on for a crash. But with Nvidia, if Nvidia comes out much better than expected tomorrow, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a break through 6,000 temporarily. If we get a break through 6,000, I am going to sell at least half of all the stocks I hold US. Again, for the Nasdaq, I've got a big level in here, so anywhere around 20,700 is a big area. And then this is the bonds. The 2-year bonds are now paying 3.98%. They're not too much of a worry. I have actually, with a client I'm working with, we have actually bought some short-term US bonds. I think they were paying out 4.15% last week as a bit of a hedge as well. Now, the 10-year is more of a concern, but the real concern is the 30-year. The Americans at the minute are having to pay more than 5% interest per annum for people who are willing to buy 30-year bonds. And that is up in the all-time high levels. Not good, because more and more of their tax revenue is having to go to pay to furnish their debt. Euro stocks, again, this is not because the UK or the Eurozone economy is doing well. It's just people are pulling money out of the American markets. Nikkei, the same. I mean, Japan is in a far worse state debt-wise than America, but people are moving monies there allegedly. And then if you recall, earlier in the year, I was showing you with the Russell. This is the smaller stocks in America. I was needing it to break significant areas initially up here, because a lot of what's gone on with the S&P the last few years is down to 7 companies out of 500, which is an unfair reflection on the American economy, whereas the Russell is smaller companies. And then you've got the Japanese. Gold and silver, if I wasn't in gold and silver at the minute, not financial advice, but I would buy more at 3,200. What's good with the golden situation is usually gold is going up because the dollar is dropping. But I've been looking at gold against the pound, against the euro, and against multiple currencies. So it is a gold move, not just because the dollar is dropping. And say last week, I bought some more silver for a client because he needed some exposure. If I wasn't in it already, I would be looking to buy silver anywhere around 31.40, not financial advice. EXK, my best performing stock last year in the mining sector, made 260%. I was an active buyer down here around $3.20 the other week. Now, Bitcoin, I shared, it's easier to show you here actually on MT4. This is Bitcoin from 2020. So this is when we originally got well, we got in the May. And Bitcoin was really easy because it just went on a run and it pulled back. It went on a run and it pulled back, and it did it 4 or 5 times in the end. Woohoo, easy. Because we were in the right place, the right cycle at the right time. Now, what's been going on at the moment with Bitcoin is technically Bitcoin tends to make moves and then it pulls back, then it consolidates. And these are examples of consolidation. Recently, the beginning of this year, it peaked up here, all-time high, double top. So if it's going to reject anywhere, it's probably there. Broke lower, then we're in another range. Then we came down here, we did a messier range. But what I was sharing the other week is that we had a flag pattern. And I was looking at the overall flag pattern, and I was looking and saying, look, from here to here, you measured the pole. This was suggesting a $20,000 move on Bitcoin. And so far, I think we've had 17,000, 16,000. So it's worked out. But then I noticed this morning, we were getting a lot of smaller flag patterns. And again, the theory goes, so this is the first flag pattern. The theory goes that should have moved almost $12,000 on a break. So we measured from the bottom to the top. Whew, that was $12,000. Oh, that was spooky. So then we got consolidation again. And you could say that was probably the overall thing with the flag pattern. So now we're measuring from here to here. It's another 12,000. 12,000. Ooh, that's spooky. None of this is all nonsense, this technical analysis. And then that one, again, 12,000. So the theory goes, this one is going to go. Ooh, we're nearly there already. But we are consolidating again. The reason I bought more last week at 105 was more fundamental and technical. You may have seen yesterday that Trump sons, so this is he's keeping out of it. He's not personally profiteering. Trump's sons are intending to raise $3 billion to buy crypto. And they've already got the fingers in one pie that was announced last week that's gone into NASDAQ. The 180 days that Trump gave the crypto industry and the SEC to get their act together is coming ever closer to the 6 months. I think that fundamentally Bitcoin is going to keep going. And when you think about the demise of the American dollar at the moment, and the fact that the Chinese and the Japanese are not buying bonds, which is causing an issue for the Americans, and I gave reasons the other week. I was explaining with stable coins how that can benefit the American dollar as well. For me, this makes sense. Any questions on anything I have covered today? EU arms makers. I don't know where they actually. How would non-new areas buy the ETFs? I don't know, Dan. You'd have to do some research. Theo, everybody thinks they're too late for Bitcoin. People thought they were too late with Bitcoin at 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand, 100 grand. I still bought more at 105. I didn't buy a whole one at 105, but I still bought more. Another way to consider, and we made more money from this. I showed this a little earlier, how Lucy had made 1,000% on a stock. So an indirect way, and what I do and have done, is to buy American crypto-related stocks. So you have Coinbase is probably my biggest holding. Coinbase is the biggest legal, cleanest crypto exchange in America. And so if Trump is bringing more people into crypto, more people will use crypto, more people will need the exchanges. America is a massive country. If they all start buying crypto, I think this could go to $1,000. So even though Bitcoin is currently at all-time highs, Coinbase is 30% lower than its recent high. I only buy a stock if it can make at least 25%, and that ticks the boxes. And the other one is MicroStrategy. And this was the one that we made the mega money on, that we bought down here and we sold out right at the top, which was nuts. But we took profit along the way and bought and sell. But again, MicroStrategy at the moment, I have an alarm set down here. If it was to come down here, that would be 35% to the recent high and 50% to the all-time high. So they own a shed load of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So it is an indirect way of doing it. The other option is I have these in my A portfolio for crypto. So I have Bitcoin. I actually bought some Ethereum last week here at 2.5. I'd said the other week I'd lost interest with Ethereum, but again, we're in a consolidation at the moment and it broke the EMAs. I bought some more H bar because we were above the EMA, so I bought some more in here. I bought more Solana. I actually bought more Solana again 2 days ago because Solana is now a potential challenger for Ethereum. And I bought more XLM and I bought more XRP. And what I've done with crypto over the last 4 or 5 years, I have taken the profit from the smaller ones and then I have bought Bitcoin. So although I bought Bitcoin at 105,000 last week, I didn't really. I bought it out of the profit that I made on some of the other tokens, if that makes sense. Dan says he's just listened to the Bitcoin standard. Must read if you think you're too late for Bitcoin. Presumably, when would you be willing to sell the crypto? Well, what I've done is, can I call you Prez? I think I've got a Prez. Oh, give me a nickname because I can't say it. What I do with crypto is I take the initial stake out. So the best one most recently was this one. This was a Trump one in November. So this one went up 500% in 3 weeks, 600%, 600%. Who cares? It went up a load. So let's say I put $1,000 in, and now well, when it gets to 2 here, when you're looking in this point here, my thinking there, we are up 160% to a recent high, 180%. So what I said to the investing group is I am removing my initial stake or a chunk of it. And then the higher it got, I took profit. So by the time it got up to 500%, I'd only got a bit left in, but then I sold it, took profit. I then put some of the profit into Bitcoin and I had the original stake left to buy some more. And when it started to turn, I got out. And then I think I probably bought some more in here and I bought most recently in here. So we all have a limited amount of capital, whether it's $1,000 or it's $1 million. We can't just put it all in and leave it forever. So for me, I tried to take out the initial stake so that when we got the crash in 2021, I was okay because everything I had was bought and paid for, and I'd made profit as well as. Some folks had to sit through the pain of it all, but they're still now, if they didn't panic and sell, they're still up massively. Nickname is Sham. Thank you very much, Sham. You must get it all the time. Right, it's time to go over to Ashley. I have given him 20 minutes today, so he can't moan at me. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you start to take some action. Stop thinking about it. If you're sick of your job and you're sick of your boss and you want to get out, then do something about it. If you don't mind your boss and you don't mind your job, but you don't want to be doing it forever, then start putting things in place now, whether it be improving your trading skills or thinking of other ways that you can bring income and to have as many sources as possible. And if at all possible, to be internet related, unless if you're really happy where you live and you're not interested in traveling, then that's fine. But for me, it's the lowest cost business that there is. I used to employ 20 odd staff plus 20 odd subcontractors. We had the business, we had an overhead of 100 and some thousand pounds a month. 100 and some thousand pounds a month 25 years ago. And in the food industry, food game, January and August, you don't make any money because everybody's on holiday in August and everybody's broke in January. So 10 months of the year, you've got £1 million going out in overhead before I earned a penny. Nowadays, I don't have any staff. I don't have any overhead other than the internet and a decent computer. And the only other thing I've got then is my skill. Ashley is self-sufficient, so he generates income for himself. Yes, we pay him for part of his contribution, but he is self-employed. He looks after his own tax and his own things in the UK. Same for Tienis in Saudi Arabia now, same for Pierre in South Africa. So be as independent as you can. Be, if at all possible, do something related to the internet because you've not got the headache of staff, you've not got the overhead of staff and the hassle for buildings and everything else. Unless you're passionate, you want to open a bar, you want to open a cafe or something, and you're really passionate about it, then do it. Um, Sham, if you have a look, if you're interested in private coaching with Ashley, I haven't got time at the moment to be honest, but if you go into the education area, all the information is in here with private coaching with Ashley. If you're not a member yet, why? And if you're not a member yet, on a serious note, if you go to the main website and you go on here, you can find Ashley as well on there. Right. John says, great session as ever. Thanks, Mark. Okay, John, good to see you. I say, if you want to catch up or if we want to do it next Monday, I think you mean pertinent, not you've got auto spell on pertinenti. Okay, right, over to you, Ashley.